What's going on, everybody? Let's Talk Jets Radio. Hope you guys are all doing well, enjoying your weekend. Some nice weather yesterday. Quick video here as Darren Mougey has met with the media today. And, credit to him because he has already mastered the art of saying a whole lot without really saying anything, which is sometimes, something that you need to be able to have in this market. Not that you expect him to give away a whole lot of valuable information related to free agency or the draft or anything else at this point in the offseason. But he did give away some info on AVT and Justin Fields and a few other things. Actually took some notes on this one. Starting with the opening question just about what the priority was going into the offseason, which was to address the quarterback position, not just on offense, but on the defensive side of the ball as well, which is where Sherwood comes into play. Always good to be able to keep a young player in-house, 25 years old, team MVP last year. He's gotten better every single year. I think the only concern that at least I have is about what that means for the future of Quincy Williams, who has clearly outplayed his contract since he's been here, and a guy that you would love to be able to keep, but he's also 28, Sherwood 25, so hard to pay two linebackers premium money like that, and it kind of feels like Quincy's going to be the odd man out. You just wonder what that might mean for him this year on the last year of his contract with only about $6 million left remaining. As far as Justin Fields goes, interesting that he was essentially named the starter already, although Mougey did say that Tyrod's essentially going to be on his heels the entire way. Acknowledged Fields' unique skill set and what he brings to the table there, which I think we all love his skill set. It could be a nightmare on defenses trying to prepare for him. It's just a matter of whether or not he could actually improve as a passer, which is where the system comes into play, the coaching staff comes into play, and obviously the weapons around him, which are still, I think, a little bit of a concern right now when you look at the wide receiver room, the tight end room, and the possible hole at right tackle. But it does seem like things are starting to come into place where you could see the Jets maximizing what Fields could do. He does have the leadership ability. He did, I think, improve last year. He was 4-2 as a starter, just wasn't really putting up those passing numbers that you'd like to see. But there's every reason to think that he can make that kind of jump that other quarterbacks have a little bit later in their career as first-round picks. From there, it just seemed like every question was just, yeah, we feel good about it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm not really sure what he was supposed to say to a lot of these questions. The one thing I did agree with him on was the effort to get younger. I think they did that. Pretty sure there's only 4 guys on the roster right now that are over 30 years old. And so for a first-time head coach, I think that's a good problem to have, just having young guys that are coachable, also on one-year contracts, so they're definitely motivated to get paid. Feels like they found a lot of value in free agency and some good depth. My only concern, again, would be the one-year deals. If they play well, you're going to be giving them a big contract next offseason. If they don't play well, obviously they're gone. No harm there. But really, the only major contracts you gave were Justin Fields and then Stevens. But they did lose a lot of starters, and so maybe you did sign a lot of guys that you can fill with depth roles and things like that. But you lost DJ Reed, you lost Conklin, you lost Moses, you lost Devontae Adams. Like, these are some prominent players that I don't really feel like they have really filled in yet. Stevens, I think obviously they hope can be what DJ Reed was. Seems like they love his physical attributes. They think he could be a nice project for Aaron Glenn. From there, again, it continued with like the feel-good stuff. Like, we feel good about the wide receiver room. How do you feel good about the wide receiver room right now when you just lost a number one? And it still seems like, I don't know why, Allen Lazard is still part of the future. And I don't know where Lazard fits in. It seems like they're waiting on him to potentially restructure his contract. I would rather just completely move on. You take the hit, whatever you got to do. Like, I'd rather see young players there. There's other free agents still out there right now. I think most of us are just done with the Allen Lazard experiment between the penalties, the drops, and everything else. He's been pretty consistently bad for his 2 years with the Jets. I don't think a coaching change is really going to change much with Allen Lazard, so I'd love to just move on there. Same thing with the tight end room. Acknowledge that they feel good about it, but you lost your starter with Conklin. We don't really know what Ruckert is yet. Smart has some potential, but still kind of a depth guy. I think that's where we could see the draft maybe filling that void. Feels good about the options at pick 7, although I thought it was kind of interesting that they don't really have a draft board in place yet. I know they just got hired a few months ago, but the fact that they don't really have their board set up. Mougey even said that he hasn't been at any of the pro days yet, which you could say maybe is a negative, but also maybe it's a positive that he's really working hand in hand with the coaching staff, since they're the ones that have been going to all the pro days. So maybe there really is some strong collaboration there that we can get excited about. Who knows? Seems like they're not done adding at right tackle either. although he did say ABT is going to be staying put at guard, so we'll see what happens there. And then the final question about just the roster in general, that he feels good about where they're at, but he wouldn't answer directly whether or not it's better from the day that he took over, which I think as fans, if we're being realistic, this roster is not better than what it was the day that he took over. I think maybe you could hope the coaching staff can get more out of what's in place right now, and maybe the team can still improve from where they were last year, from 5 wins to 7 or 8 this year if we're lucky. But certainly from a talent perspective, it's hard to look at the team and say that they've really improved. But that's where this draft is going to be huge. You got 8 picks, and you really got to find at least 4 or 5 starters. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. Should be interesting.